Do you remember the video game Road Rash?
Oh, absolutely. The vintage one, right? On the motorcycle.
That's the one. You're just, tearing down this pixelated highway at impossible speeds, literally punching other riders, dodging cars.
Total chaos. The best part was if you crashed, there were zero consequences.
Exactly. You just respawned and kept going. It was pure anarchy, but it was safe.
Right.
Now, I want you to imagine that same energy, the fighting for position, the insane speeds, the complete disregard for safety.
Right.
But in the real world, real asphalt, real cars, and absolutely zero respawns.
That is a terrifying image. But, well, based on what we're looking at today, it's not just an image, is it? It's daily life on some roads.
It is. According to our source material, that video game chaos is just a standard Tuesday in Thiruvananthapuram.
Yeah, we are looking at this really fascinating and honestly quite harrowing chronicle. It's called Thiruvananthapuram Road Rash, a chronicle of traffic anarchy.
And it's just a set of eyewitness accounts from 1 week, late January 2026.
It's 1 week.
Yeah.
And it paints this picture of a road culture that has just gone completely off the rails.
And anarchy really is the word for it. But the mission for this deep dive isn't just to, complain about bad drivers. We all do that.
Right. It's easy to do.
We want to go deeper. We want to unpack these specific incidents, and from what the author calls kings in diapers to a heist involving a literal potato.
I'm looking forward to that one.
To really understand the psychology behind this chaos.
That's the goal. Why, in a place like Kerala, which has some of the highest literacy rates in India, why doesn't that intelligence translate to road discipline?
That's the big question. Are smart people just making catastrophically dangerous choices?
Is it cognitive dissonance?
Yeah.
A lack of enforcement? Or something, deeper in the culture?
So let's get into it. We're heading straight onto the streets of Thiruvananthapuram. Our first case study is January 28th, 2026, Nalamukku Appadamadu Road.
And the source calls this one the invisible filtering.
Before we get into the maneuver, maybe we should define filtering, because it's a bit of a gray area.
It is. So lane filtering is when a motorcycle rides between two lanes of slow or stopped traffic. In some places, like California, it's legal. It's seen as a way to reduce congestion.
But in India, it's common, but often done illegally and, more importantly, unsafely.
And unsafe is a massive understatement for what happened here.
It's late afternoon, about 4:41 p.m. We have a rider on a Kawasaki KLX 230. For anyone who doesn't know bikes, that's a dual sport. It's basically a dirt bike with lights.
It's a machine that encourages a certain, let's call it a spirited riding style.
Right.
It's light, it's punchy, high center of gravity, makes you feel like you can conquer any obstacle, which, can lead to overconfidence.
Well, this rider decides to filter between two cars, but he doesn't have a lane. He barely has a gap. The source says he decided a 1-inch clearance was plenty.
1 inch. Let's just pause on that. In any kind of physics, 1 inch at speed is effectively zero.
It's nothing.
A driver drifts, a handlebar vibrates, you hit a reflector on the road, you're down. The margin for error just isn't there.
But here's the kicker. This is where it gets really interesting, psychologically. He didn't do this on some back road. He pulled this maneuver directly in front of one traffic official and 2 police personnel on active duty.
See, that's the detail that changes this from just bad driving into a sociological phenomenon.
How so?
Because it's all about deterrence. Usually, you see a cop car, you instinctively check your speed. It's called the halo effect of enforcement.
Right.
But here, that deterrent completely failed. It's like the police weren't even there.
The source actually wonders if the rider was in a sound state of sobriety. Because who does that? Who looks at a cop and thinks, hey, watch this?
It's a valid question, but I think there's another angle. It points to a normalization of deviance. If you break the rules every single day and nothing happens, the risk perception just fades.
The police officer becomes part of the scenery.
Exactly. The rider likely believed he was invisible, or that the game of beating traffic was just more important than getting a fine.
And the source calls it life-threatening if one of those cars had nudged over even a tiny bit.
And you get a domino effect. The bike goes down, cars swerve, and this connects to the broader data in the text. Illegal lane filtering is a top contributor to urban collisions. Statistically, it's one of the most dangerous things you can do.
But this rider treated it like he had a respawn button.
He did.
Speaking of treating the road like a game, let's move to our second incident. This one is less about precision and more about raw aggression. January 30th, The NH66 infosys signal.
Okay, so the context here is key. The NH66 bypass near Infosys, that's the IT corridor. We're talking high-volume, heavy commuter traffic.
This is not an empty track. It's 3:37 p.m. The signal turns green. For most people, green means proceed with caution. For two riders, it apparently meant lights out, away we go. We have a Mahindra Mojo and a Royal Enfield Hunter 350.
Interesting bikes. The Mojo's a tourer. The Hunter 350 is a nimble city bike. Both capable, but they're not super bikes. They're commuter plus.
And the source says they performed a synchronized convoy movement. They take off, weaving through traffic together, and then the Mojo pulls a move that is just terrifyingly described. He executes a 45-degree gliding lane change.
Wow. A 45-degree cut is incredibly aggressive. In traffic theory, you want lane changes to be gradual, shallow angles. A 45-degree cut is basically slashing across the road.
And he does it right into the blind spot of a moving tipper lorry.
Oof. That is the nightmare scenario.
Why is the lorry specifically so dangerous in this situation?
Well, think about the geometry. The driver sits way up high. They have massive blind spots, especially on the passenger side, the blind side. If you're a small object like a motorcycle and you dive into that pocket, you cease to exist for the driver.
He literally can't see you.
You're volunteering to be crushed.
The source says the Mojo zipped within 2 feet of the observer's own front tire to make this cut. And then the Hunter 350 follows him, passing so close it airbrushed the paint.
Airbrushed the paint. That's a chilling way to say they came within millimeters of a crash. No margin for error at all.
It really feels like, as the source calls it, illegal street racing in the middle of afternoon traffic.
And what stands out to me is the synchronized part. This wasn't just one person making a bad call. It was two people feeding off each other's energy.
The herd mentality.
Exactly. The collective risk assessment drops because he's doing it so I can do it. You stop thinking about the lorry and start thinking about keeping up with your buddy.
And the source brings up a really sobering statistic related to this.
It does. It notes that this kind of blindside overtaking is a major issue. But the big number is this. Two-wheeler fatalities account for about 45% of all road accidents in India.
45%. That's nearly half of all road death.
It is staggering. And when you see behavior like this, diving into the blind spots of lorries, treating a highway like a drag strip, you realize that statistic isn't just a number. It's the direct result of these physics-defying choices.
It really does feel like they're playing a game. But at least in a game, you know the rules. What happens when drivers don't seem to know them at all?
I think I know where you're going with this. The hierarchy of the road.
I want to talk about my favorite term from this entire deep dive.
Let me guess. The king in a diaper.
The king in a diaper. It's just so vivid. So let's define it. The source calls it someone operating a heavy vehicle, an SUV, a truck, without having mastered the basic potty training of road rules.
It's a perfect metaphor. They have the power, the king part, of a big vehicle that dominates space, but they have the maturity and skill, the diaper part, of a toddler.
High power, low responsibility.
A very dangerous combination.
So let's see this king in action. We're back on January 30th on the Kazakutam service road, and service roads are notorious.
Oh, they're the Wild West of infrastructure. People assume because the speed is lower, the rules are optional.
We have a driver in a Mahindra Marazzo. It's a decent-sized MPV. And he decides that the pedestrian zones near a shopping complex aren't for walking.
Of course not. To him, that's just extra road. It's a classic entitlement issue. My car is big, therefore I fit wherever I want.
He reverses into this pedestrian zone, and then to get back into traffic, he just executes a sudden 10-degree turn. Cuts right out.
Forcing everyone else to slam on their brakes.
Exactly. The whole traffic flow just screeches to a halt.
It's the unpredictability. Safe driving relies on predictability. I expect you to stay in your lane. You expect me to stop at a light. That's the contract.
And a large MPV lurching out of a pedestrian walkway that just breaks the matrix.
It's that king in a diaper mentality, that infantile selfishness. I want to go now, so I go now. It doesn't matter who else is on the road.
It's bullying. It's weaponizing the size of your vehicle. He knows smaller cars have to stop.
And sadly, it works. The others don't want to crash, so he gets his way.
But sometimes the chaos isn't about bullying or speed. Sometimes it's just about, well, potatoes.
The great potato heist. I've been waiting for this one. It's the palate cleanser of the report, but it's also deeply concerning.
It is the most absurd story in the whole collection. We're at the Ambalathara market area, January 30th again. Clearly a bad day for driving.
A busy market. So chaos is already the baseline.
A Mahindra Bolero is driving along, and a potato rolls off the back. Just one potato.
Okay, a single tuber, value, what, 5 rupees?
Maybe 10 if it's a really nice potato. A nearby shop supervisor sees this, and instead of, maybe letting it go, he decides to launch a full-scale rescue mission. The source says he lunged into moving traffic to conquer the vegetable.
He risked his life for a potato. This is what we call the priorities paradox.
Absolutely. Safety takes a complete backseat. He stops traffic, grabs the potato, but that's not even the end of it.
There's more.
Oh, yes. The observer, the person writing this, has to brake hard for the potato rescuer. As he starts moving again, a Bajaj auto rickshaw right in front of him decides that is the perfect moment for a sudden U-turn.
Let me guess. No signal.
Zero signal, just a hard yank on the handlebars. They missed a collision by inches.
Wow, that's a perfect storm of bad decisions. You have the unpredictable pedestrian, the potato chaser disrupting the flow, then you have the rickshaw driver reacting to that chaos with his own chaos.
And the source calls the rickshaw driver another king in a diaper. The mindset is the same. Zero regard for the basics.
It really highlights cognitive overload. The rickshaw driver probably saw the cars slowing down and just thought, opportunity. I can flip a U-turn right now. Not checking mirrors, just grabbing a gap that didn't really exist.
As you stack all these up, the Kawasaki, the drag racers, the Muraza, the potato, you start to see a pattern. It's not just bad driving. It feels systemic.
It is a pattern of anarchy.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the why. We've covered the what, the crazy incidents, but why is this happening?
Yes, let's unpack that, because the source brings up a really interesting contradiction about Kerala.
This is the literacy paradox. Kerala has one of the highest literacy rates in India. It's a very educated state. And you'd think high literacy would correlate with better civic sense, better adherence to rules.
You would think that if you can read the signs, you'd follow them. But the roads tell a different story.
A completely different story. The source points out that despite this high literacy, lane discipline violations are one of the most frequently ticketed offenses.
So knowing how to read doesn't mean you know how to drive.
Precisely. Literacy does not equal road sense. You can have a PhD, but if you have that king in a diaper mentality, you're a danger on the road. It suggests driving culture is separate from academic culture.
A disconnect between, I guess, academic intelligence and civic responsibility.
I think it comes down to what the source calls the shared contract of safety.
I love that phrasing. Can you expand on that?
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
When I get on the road, I'm signing an invisible contract with you. I promise to stay on my side, stop at red lights, signal my turns. In exchange, I trust you to do the same.
And that trust is the only thing that keeps the whole system from falling apart.
Exactly. It's the only reason we can drive 2-ton metal boxes past each other at 60 miles an hour without screaming. And these incidents, the potato heist, the blind spot gliding, they are breaches of that contract.
When writers treat the highway like a video game, they're tearing that contract up.
They're saying the rules apply to you, but not to me. And when one person breaks the contract, everyone else gets nervous. We start driving defensively or aggressively, and the whole system degrades.
And as the source says, when that happens, everyone loses. Because unlike road rash, there is no reset button.
That is the cold reality. The metal is real, the speed is real, the consequences are permanent. You don't just lose a life and wait for a countdown.
It's a lot to take in. We've gone from the gliders at Infosys risking it all for a thrill to the absurdity of a potato rescue. It's funny in a way, but also deeply disturbing.
It is, and I think it challenges us to look at our own driving. We might not be chasing potatoes, but how often do we cut a corner? How often do we think, I can squeeze through that gap?
How often do we become the king in the diaper?
Exactly.
The source actually asks the reader, and I want to pose it to you, the listener, right now. Have you caught any kings in diapers on your dash cam lately?
Or, maybe more uncomfortably, have you been the king in a diaper lately?
Ooh, shots fired. But it's a fair question.
It is. Self-reflection is the first step. We can't just blame the rickshaw drivers. We have to look at the culture we're all participating in.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Think back to that first guy, the one on the Kawasaki.
The invisible filterer.
Inching between cars, literally under the nose of a police officer. If someone is willing to risk their life right in front of the people who are supposed to stop them, can enforcement actually solve this?
If the cop car isn't a deterrent, what is?
Right. Has this anarchy become so culturally ingrained that tickets and fines just won't cut it anymore?
That's the big question. Is it a policing problem, or is it a culture problem? And if it's a culture problem, that is much, much harder to fix.
Something to mull over the next time you're stuck in traffic. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Drive safe, everyone.
And please, use your indicators.